Okay, this is the intro for the podcast.
Well, hello. Welcome back to the Silver Screen Fiends podcast. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm Blake.
And where do we even begin? So, obviously, this is going to be dedicated solely to the Oscars. I was a little upset. Nothing interesting happened, though.
Yeah, it was pretty boring. We could probably talk about something else.
Yeah. So we're going to completely forgo any housekeeping and get right into the meat of the award ceremony. So the first comment I want to make is, my God, this was probably the most fun I've ever had on Twitter. I think just why, like, because even before the big event, right, there was still stupid ass shit going on.
Yeah,
like
it was a great night to be on Twitter.
Like, I can't even tell you how many accounts I saw post pictures of Timothée Chalamet with just the suit with no shirt under and him giving the middle finger to the camera. That was we'll start there, because I was like, I love people like, completely disrespectful, and then all the other like thirst accounts on Twitter are like, get bent, he's fucking gorgeous. And
also, in hindsight, funny thing to be upset about, given what would later happen.
Oh yeah, but like, to me at this point, why people even care about wardrobe and award ceremony in this year, in this century? I mean, do we even care anymore?
Listen, the Oscars are a joke. Let's be right. Real.
That's the thing, is that, and tonight was, as if we didn't already know this, tonight, not tonight, when it happened, it was a clear cut case of, yeah, we went from like depreciation to complete immoralization, like
anarchy.
Yeah. So yeah, before we get to the main event, though, there's definitely some things we have to know. I don't even do we even have to go over the categories? Like, fuck the categories. Stupid.
You know who won.
Yeah, I will say probably the only redeeming part of the award show was Beyonce and her Pantone army performing. I was like, oh, good, an actual shining light in a shit show. And I was like, okay, all right, you rock it. This is the preamble, so we're gonna see what we get into, and then we see our three hosts.
Oh man,
oh boy. So like, I'm gonna exclude Wanda Sykes because number one, I love her, and number two, she didn't do anything detrimental. She was the only one that like was okay, right?
I will say though, I did find the skit of her going to like the Oscars museum to be unbearable.
Oh yeah, which by
that wasn't
the way,
her fault. It just was fucking boring, and it was like, why is this still going on?
Oh yeah, and I also laughed my ass off when I saw that actor who basically has been forgotten to history, the one who was like the curator.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know him by name, and you can't blame me, but I've seen him in a bunch of random shit, and I'm like, wow, he's still getting work. That's good for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we have Regina Hall, who I've always loved in the past, but she's been really, really grabby during the Oscar. I noticed she was like obviously the jokes about being flirtatious, whatever, like we've done that for years, but like she's like legit just patting down men like the entire time.
I felt like so many of the jokes, it wasn't even the content that made it bad. It was every joke was like 10 minutes long. They all went on so long. And it was especially with like the whole like cutting all these categories from the like broadcast and the way they did all that shit, and then to like waste all this time on like skits and jokes that were so boring. It was like, really? I think I would have rather seen like the Samuel Jackson like lifetime award receive, like him receiving that
Right.
over this.
Yeah, and I get like they did this as a litmus test to see like if audience retention would remain the same or if it would change, and if we really needed to showcase those things. But to me, it's an awards ceremony.
Right.
Why not keep that? And to find out like some of the winners on Twitter, it just felt weird.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
And then they like spliced in footage of it throughout the night. It was just weird. The way that they did it was very weird. I don't know why. And then I saw afterwards on Twitter that like this year's broadcast was actually longer than last year's, where they did have all of those things. So I don't know what the purpose was.
Literally none. Like I just like, I guess they were just it was just a test, and then it didn't really work. It didn't.
Well, it did, because the viership went way
well
up this year.
well, yeah, they got Big Willie to thank for that one. But yeah, there was a point where I kept groaning audibly at Amy Schumer, just with the, aside from the whole like race thing, because like obviously that was gonna happen, just every other thing, and you could tell the people behind the scenes knew to keep her at bay, because she only really appeared in the beginning and then like during that one skit, and then like I didn't see her for the rest of the ceremony.
This year, more than any other year, I felt like, why even have hosts? Just don't have a host. It's clearly not needed.
Yeah, I would much sooner rather just have the resurrected corpse of Bob Hope give the nominees. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess because like in a sense it's tradition, but at this point it's such a fucking forest of like chaos and megalomania and narcissism that like at this point just put like a giant fucking golden statue in the stage and just and have that be the host. Like it doesn't matter. Because
it just was like everything every time the hosts were on, it would just felt like unnecessary like time filler.
Yeah,
which again this year was so heavily focused on like how long the broadcast was that felt kind of weird.
Yeah, we don't need to really keep tradition at an event that's lost all of its class.
Seriously,
it doesn't. It's not even. It's a moot point.
Yeah,
no, but it's there. And aside from like all the shit with Smith and Chris Rock, there was a lot of other like straight up disrespectful moments too.
It was just like it was very weird. The whole ceremony this year was very weird.
It was like, and when they tried to hide, the thing is like the actual cinema and the accolades took a back seat because
big time.
Like for example, Drive My Car wins the Oscar for Best International Film, which I was really happy about.
Did you end up watching it? I still haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. Drive My Car, excellent. I fucking loved it. And it would have been my personal choice for Best Picture, even though I knew it wasn't going to win that, but I would have loved to see it anyway. But yeah, like the director who flew out from Tokyo to be here, Ryosuke Hamaguchi, he's accepting it, and 10 seconds into it, they're cutting him off. They're playing music. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And then they try to rush his acceptance. And yet we can have every other A-list celebrity that we've known for how many fucking years in society sit there and give like the bullshit cliche 10-minute speech where they're trying to convince you they're not on an ego trip. Yeah. But we got to cut this man off. Like, what the fuck?
You know what it is? It's a very much like I almost want to say like tokenization of the international movies. It's starting to feel like, because it's like, okay, you could be in this and you could win, but like we're not going to give you that much screen time, so like get off. You know, it's like they don't, it feels very fake to like make it like, oh, we're gonna like have all these international movies and like nominate him for Best Picture, but then when the director comes up to get his award, we're gonna like rush him off the stage. Like they're not quite there yet, where it's like you could be here, but like at the same time, fuck you.
Right. And I kind of I had like a little bit more hope moving forward because of Parasite getting as much recognition as it did. So that kind of excited me for the future. And I'm glad it at least won this award. But yeah, like I said, I personally wanted it for Best Picture, but that was a pipe dream.
Yeah.
So how about you know what? All right, we'll go through some categories first, then we'll do some more.
We could do the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like at this point we should probably. So best visual effects goes to Dune, which like
most wins of the night.
Yeah, most wins of the night, and not shocking. I would have laughed my ass off if Free Guy won. I would have laughed. Yeah, I would have laughed if any of them won.
Yeah. Because you know what, I would have laughed more if one of the Marvel movies won, just because people would lose their fucking minds.
Yeah, well, and especially because I love Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, but they had arguably some of the most lackluster visual effects.
Any Marvel movie, I do not. I mean, you watch it for like the big action scenes and stuff, but if you do not watch those for the good special effects because they're not good.
Right. Yeah.
They're passable, but they're not good.
Yeah. So Dune definitely deserved that, like 100%.
Yeah. I didn't see James Bond, so I don't know what the visual effects were in that, but the other ones, I've seen everything else in that category. Free Guy did have good visual effects. It just would be funny as hell if that one, just because it was kind of.
I know. Yeah. It's like, yeah, of course, Free Guy. Right. So then Dune also takes best production design, which again I have no problem with.
I feel like that's kind of like a shoe-in. Like, how could you not give it best production design?
Yeah, I would have also been interested to see Nightmare Alley possibly take that.
That would have been my second pick.
Because I feel like they did a very good job with like all the set design and the closing shots and keeping it contained. So,
yeah, if Nightmare Alley had come out like a year before or a year after, I think it probably would have won. But like this year, Dune was just like the juggernaut. There, nobody was going to beat it, especially in anything visual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I was surprised to see the Eyes of Tammy Faye win best makeup because I thought Norbit was going to take that.
Honestly, I think Norbit had better special effects. That was the movie that we had the whole discussion about how you don't need to put stupid prosthetics on the actor for them to play a character. And like, I was shocked that movie won because just from what I've seen from the trailer, the visual effects look horrendous in that movie.
Yeah, that one was surprising for sure.
I was definitely surprised. It reminded me of Bohemian Rhapsody winning for best editing.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. We also had we had Cruella on there. Oh my God, Coming to America. I forgot that was even on the ballot.
I did not see Cruella, but everybody that I know that did see it said that the costumes were incredible. So it doesn't seem like anybody was upset about that win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cruella did end up winning best costume design.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I haven't seen it, but like
now I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I wasn't going to, but I want to see the costumes now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that I think with a universe like that, it's something that they could have either really got right, which they did, or really fucked up. Like I feel like with Cruella, there's like no in between. So I'm glad that did well. But I would have been interested to see pretty much anything other than that. Like I still haven't seen West Side Story. I haven't seen Cyrano.
I watched West Side Story since our last recording.
Yeah, I was gonna try to fit that in, but I was like, it
was good. I like the original West Side Story, and it was good. You know, nothing like crazy. It had great cinematography, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then we have, let's see, best sound, which of course Dune had to win.
Yeah, that one.
Like that's
like the one thing everyone was talking about when it came out. So it would be very surprising if it didn't win for that.
Yeah,
Same
like I
with
said,
the soundtrack.
Yeah, like I watched this movie with headphones in. Like the sound design was so good.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
insane.
yeah. What even else had Belfast? Really? Like what the
I don't I had not heard of that. I know it was nominated, but I didn't even like think of it until the ceremony. But I kind of want to watch it. It looks kind of interesting.
what Belfast?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he won
So
for it.
yeah, Belfast to me, it very much is it's a historical period piece, but it didn't really transport me to the era they were discussing.
Oh, you saw it?
I did. I watched Belfast like it was either the was it the day before? No, it was actually the morning of the Oscars because I was like, you know what, I need to. I was like between Belfast and Coda, so I was like,
Mm.
I'll just watch Belfast because it was in black and white. I was like, I'm more interested in this,
Yeah, I
and
like black and white movies.
and yeah, it like Belfast. I thought the performances were good. I thought the little kid and the mother did a good job, and even the father was good, but it didn't really take me back into that time period. And it's
Mhm.
not to say like a lot of modern movies that try to do that do, but I feel like other movies did a better job at it. Like this one, I kind of just felt like I was watching a modern movie, but
Yeah.
I don't really necessarily think that detracts from like the quality of the performances. I would just say that was my main criticism of the
Mhm.
film, and they alluded and kind of made reference and paid homage to a lot of other films and things like that. Like I saw some influence of Cinema Paradiso in there and some other things, but I think overall it was a fine movie. It just didn't really. It's gonna be this is gonna be funny because like it was very clearly about like the war, the battles and the protests going on at that time in Ireland, but it didn't feel like a whole lot was at stake.
Mm.
Um, I know you haven't seen it, so it's a little hard to explain, but like there was emphasis on like the rioting and the protesting and whatnot, but it didn't when you compare it to like what the main story like that works in tandem with it didn't really seem like a whole lot was at stake. And I think that's kind of why I wasn't as sucked in as I wanted to be, because it was like, okay, this is a good movie. It's clearly Oscar bait. I can tell they were inspired by other source material, but it just didn't grab me. And I think like that, and I can't sit here and say I hated it because it didn't grab me, but I think that's a pretty fundamentally important factor when we're talking about a
Yeah.
medium of entertainment, you
And
know.
honestly, I feel like that description can describe a lot of the movies that not just this year, but every year with the Oscars. Like just looking through the list,
Yeah,
I would say probably half of the ones that I actually even did see were ones that I finished them and I was just like, like it just didn't really like do it for me. That's how I felt about King Richard in particular. Like I watched it and I was like, yeah, that was good. Like, but I don't know, like it just wasn't that like big of a deal. Like especially one like that where it was like I know that like Venus and Serena are gonna be super famous and everything. So it's like because the did you see King Richard? I can't remember
I
what we
did.
talked
Yeah,
about.
I did.
It was weird to me that it was about all of this stuff before they were famous and everything. Like it so it was like, well, not much is at stake because I know that they're gonna be fine. So it's like, I don't know, it was a fine like slice of their life, but it wasn't anything that like is really like I couldn't nothing was memorable about it to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's it kind of took me a little bit to get past the fact it wasn't about like Venus and Serena explicitly, and it was
Mhm.
more like their father kind of bringing them to prominence. But
Yeah, which is why it was such a like Oscar bait movie, like from the get
right,
go.
it's like it's the struggle story, it's the underdog story.
Yeah,
It's
which Will Smith has done before, in my opinion, much better. But it's kind of like the DiCaprio thing, where it's like, is the Revenant really his best role of course not, but he was owed an Oscar, so here's your Oscar. I kind of
Right.
felt like the same thing when for Will Smith. There it was like he's been in much better movies and been nominated, but like, all right, it's finally time. Like we owe him one. He's gonna win this one.
Yeah.
And that's all he did that night. Nothing else happened.
Yeah, nothing else happened. But
It
I
was
was
interesting how quiet he was.
yeah, I will say about King Richard though, the one thing I did like was the performance of his wife,
Mhm.
Anjanou Ellis, which I thought like, and especially in a movie where you can tell his actions were putting a strain on the family to like get them to where he wanted them to be. And I thought that she did a really good job just laying it on the line. Like,
Mhm.
hey, don't get it twisted. Like you're being fucking selfish. And I get that you have their interests at heart, but like, do you really? And I think especially a movie where you see Will Smith as the lead, it's important to like keep the humane aspect of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I feel you though. Like I wasn't really pulled in. I feel the same way about The Power of the Dog.
Which
Like
I still haven't seen. And now that, especially because that movie won a lot less than I thought it was going to win.
yeah, I thought I was gonna take home quite a few.
Yeah, it got pretty
Yeah.
much like totally looked over as far as what it won. Because what did it even win? Did it win anything? I can't remember. Oh
Power
yeah,
of
it
the
won
Dog
directing. It
won,
won directing.
yes, which which I was happy to see Jane Campion take that.
Mhm.
I think that as far as direction, she deserves it. I think just as far as source material, it was kind of not doomed, but it was almost one of those things where the subject matter, it didn't really, I've seen so many like rancher western stories with like deep seated melodrama within the family, and then there's like a secret, and like bro, I watch Yellowstone, like I know what. but
Yeah.
and also the thing is, and it's not directly the fault of any of these actors, because I like Benedict Cumberbatch, I like Kirsten Dunst, I love Jesse Plemons. It's not that they gave lackluster performances, but I think given the script, it just wasn't what they could have accomplished.
Yeah.
It was too safe, and I know that it was based on the self-titled book, but like I don't know, I guess it was kind of a personal problem, but it just felt safe. The drama felt safe. I feel like I'd been there before,
Mhm.
so I
Which
don't know.
again, I mean, of the movies that I did see, because I did not see all of them. I didn't see Coda, so I don't know about Coda, but that again kind of feels true of a lot of the movies this year. Other than Dune, I think, because Dune's a pretty ambitious movie, and Nightmare Alley was pretty ambitious, but the rest of them just kind of felt like safe movies. Like nothing controversial, really. I mean, maybe Licorice Pizza, but I don't know. Again, I didn't see that one, but yeah, the ones I saw, it was just like, yeah, okay, like that was a movie, nothing crazy, which I think happens more and more with Oscar movies. I think the last one I can think of that was really like not a safe movie was Parasite. And but even before that, I don't remember many that were not just like movies, like just a movie.
Right, yeah.
Parasite's really the only recent one that I feel like kind of pushed it a little bit.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was low key hoping a movie like Drive My Car could win Best Picture, because
Mhm.
it's a concept that feels familiar, but does drastically different things in its execution.
Yeah. And
And
maybe
I
Coda did that. I don't know. I can't speak on it. I didn't see it, but
yeah,
I haven't necessarily heard that about it.
yeah, I'd be hard pressed to believe the opposite, but I guess maybe, I don't know, but
Again, like I say every year, realistically, for me, like the lead up to the Oscars is when I'm going to watch all of these movies. Once the
right,
Oscars are over, the ones that I haven't seen, very slim chance I'm ever going to watch them.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about these movies, so it's like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like people will talk about Dune. Nightmare Alley is Guillermo del Toro, so it's got its like niche audience. But like,
Yeah.
am I gonna watch Coda? I don't see myself in a scenario where I'm like, I'm in the mood to sit down and watch Coda today. You know, so it's nothing against the movie. It's just like we said, they're just like these kind of like safe movies that I don't see myself like getting hyped up to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's just there's too much of a safety net. But I will say that I did like the speech that was signed by Troy Kotsur for best actor in a supporting role. I thought that was cool. I noticed in the past few years that a lot more movies have been including people of the deaf community.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because Sound of Metal was also
Sound of Metal. There's a deaf actress in Drive My Car.
interesting.
There's Coda. Yeah, I think it's cool, and I liked seeing a real person get up there. You could tell
not a celebrity.
Yeah, like you could tell he was very honored, very flattered. He probably never thought he was gonna be accepting an Oscar. And to be honest, when he got called up, you could see his face. He's like, wait, really? Like, and he got so like, fucking happy.
Well, it was like what you want to see when someone wins an Oscar that you really don't get very often, because it's all, you know, I mean, these people are mega rich celebrities, whether they win an Oscar or not. So to see someone that just like clearly just cares about like his craft win, and especially against extraordinary circumstances, it was nice. I think it's it's funny because there's a lot of things that are worth talking about in a positive light, and it's like nobody is, because of everything else that happened. And it's kind of unfortunate. Like everything is overshadowed by what happened, everything, and it's too bad.
Literally everything. Yeah,
because even I thought Jessica Chastain gave a pretty good speech too, talking about like the LGBTQ community, and nobody's talking about her speech.
No.
Which is too bad.
Yeah, like
if I was one of the other winners, I'd be fucking pissed. Like nobody's gonna remember this night for anything other than what happened.
I know. it is pretty crazy.
Which I didn't expect to see Jessica Chastain win. I feel like she wasn't really talked about a lot as a potential winner.
Yeah. I think that was nice to see. I haven't seen Eyes of Tammy Faye, but
that one I might watch. That does kind of look good, so I might still watch that one.
Yeah.
I did see Spencer since we last recorded, and that was really good. Definitely recommend it. Kristen Stewart was great in it. And it's literally like one of those movies where it's like the movie is her. Like there's other people and there's other characters in the scene, but I don't there's very few scenes that she's not in, and there's a lot of scenes that are just her alone. So like her performance really like stands out. I didn't think she was going to win just because she was like not too new of an actress, but like new to being in Oscar movies. And you don't really see that very often when it's like someone who's already a big name, but they're not really in Oscar movies. They don't tend to win very often, but I think that she'll probably make another movie that she'll win for, because she was great.
I saw Nicole Kidman on that list too, and I thought Being the Ricardos was all right. I think if she was given a better script and a broader palette to work with, she could have been a much better contender. Because I think her portrayal of Lucy was decent, but she was kind of drawn the short end of the stick there. It wasn't really her fault that she didn't get to shine as much as we would have liked her to.
I kind of thought she was going to win just because she'd be a super safe pick like totally non-controversial person to pick. And obviously, unfortunately, that's kind of what the Oscars have become, where like is it really about who gave the best performance? Arguable.
True. Very, very
So
true.
yeah, I thought they would go with her, but yeah.
I was wondering to myself because I saw Penelope Cruz on that list. Has she been nominated before?
I don't know. Because to tell you the truth, I can name very few movies she's even been in. So I don't even know.
I wonder if she was nominated for Blow.
Let's look.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't seen. I honestly haven't seen her in a lot.
Razzie Award nominee
What for what? What did she? What was she nominated for? Razzie
in Blow.
Oh, so
Really?
I guess not.
Wow. I thought, I don't know. Maybe because I watched it a couple years later. But like I thought she did a good job in that.
I've never seen Blow actually.
Oh man,
She has been nominated twice before, in 2010 and in 2007.
Well, Penelope, just a couple more movies and you might have your shot.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Three times previously. 2009 also, which she won for.
Oh, what was that for?
For what movie is this? A movie called Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Never heard of it.
That's a mouthful.
Oh, it's a fucking Woody Allen movie. That's why.
That's why we're not talking about it. Loud fart noise.
But she did win for it.
All right. Well, I mean, good for her. I've always liked her.
Good for her, but unfortunately it was Woody Allen, so don't care, not gonna watch it.
Yeah. Epic. So I want to shift gears a little bit while this is fresh in my mind, because I was on Twitter before we hopped on. What the fuck is up with that Northman poster? Like, can
the Marvel poster?
Can we stop? Can we stop with this trend in design?
I genuinely think that poster, and if you haven't seen the poster, it looks like a Marvel poster. It's the classic like floating heads of just all the most famous people in the movie. And I genuinely think they made that poster because they're trying to sell people on it being like some kind of action movie, kind of like they did with Drive when it came out, where people went to go see it thinking it was something it was not, because none of his other movies have had a poster like that. Robert Eggers. So it's like, yeah, who greenlit this?
I was going to say that very much doesn't feel like in line with Eggers' vision. And I feel like the studio probably were like, okay, we'll handle the marketing. Yeah.
I think they're going to try and push it as a star-studded like Viking action movie. And something tells me that's not what it's going to be. So, I mean, it is star-studded, but I think they're trying to sell it as something it's not necessarily.
Well, from what I understand, that makes sense, because what I've read up on is the fact that Eggers is being very, very meticulous and accurate with the details based on physical record.
Yeah, which makes sense. He did the same with The Witch. That's why like everybody complains about the dialogue in that movie, because he was like very particular about it being historically accurate. And I'm sure that one at least is like historically accurate, but it's more recent, whereas this is like ancient history, and I'm sure it's going to be odd to say the least.
Right. So I think that with this movie, you're right. I think that they very much know that Eggers has a specific vision. And I think that for a broader audience to be interested in it, they probably have to reel in a little bit of the obscurity and push forward the basic typical marketing tactics that they have to in order to get people into the door.
Because the thing is the North, is it an A24 movie? I feel like it's not.
I don't think it is.
Because his other movies are. Yeah, no, it's not.
It's
not
not,
A24.
right? Yeah.
Which
I didn't
that
think
definitely leads me to believe that it's a marketing thing. That poster, because like I'm looking at it right now, and it's like a huge picture of Skarsgård with like an axe and a sword, and then like all the heads of all the other people, and then like the bottom is like a little silhouette of him like standing on a rock. It's very superhero looking.
so. Oh yeah.
It's very like action movie looking. So I think that's how they're going to try and sell this movie, but it's just very strange.
Oh my
And,
God.
and now that I know it's not A24, that makes a lot more sense.
Also, I forgot that Bjork was in this movie.
Yeah. I forgot Nicole Kidman's in it. I didn't even realize she was in it.
Ooh, what the fuck though with the kerning on? Look at the inconsistency of the kerning. You see with Ethan Hawke. So
yeah, yeah.
Well, that one looks fine, but then look at the end, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, it does look weird.
What the fuck?
This is now a graphic design podcast, and we're going to talk about
the
design of this poster.
Yeah, I know it's impossible. Literally, we have two artists looking at a movie poster. Like it's impossible to, like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so that was fresh in my mind, so I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, interesting.
But anyway, back to the we're gonna switch gears and engage in some hyper speed force and enter back into this conversation.
We're gonna enter back into the speed force,
which holy shit,
that was the funniest moment of the night. I'm so happy that happened.
I thought that was going to be the biggest joke of the Oscars.
It was going to be the biggest joke of the Oscars.
Yeah, I thought it was
being on Twitter. That was the big joke for most of the night.
Yeah,
like if nothing else happened, that would have been the big joke probably, and that's what everybody would be talking about. But obviously, like everything else, it was totally overshadowed. But fucking hilarious. Zack Snyder fans are insane, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So for, I mean, unless you live under a fucking rock and didn't watch it, they rolled out a fan favorite,
which
type
is
of thing,
cool.
Which yeah, I will say that's a cool addition because at least, because the Oscars have always felt, because we know that they're pre-selected, we know that it's a incredibly small panel of people that do the decision making,
and that it's very political,
and that's very, very political. So it was nice to see them implement this new category.
Political as in inner politics of the Academy, not like Republican Democrat political,
right?
But yeah, it was nice for them to see them acknowledge movies that people actually saw this year. So
yeah, and man, I was cracking up when I saw that.
That and then Army of the Dead winning the other one.
Bro,
incredible.
First of all, I was like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that was a movie that came out. Like I forgot that even came out. Like, all right. Fucking I was expecting Spider-Man, low key.
Yeah, of course. For both of those categories. Yeah. I was expecting Spider-Man. What I thought was really funny that I saw people talking about is the Flash thing. Like that movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League, that won for like most cheerful moment, which is supposed to be like when people cheered, was never shown in movie theaters.
Yeah.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
That was an HBO movie. I don't know how that could be most cheerworthy, but I love it. I think it's great.
Speaking of the Flash, Ezra Miller just got arrested.
Yeah, I know.
That was news I didn't think I was going to wake up to. Well, then again, I mean, he's kind of had a pretty shitty record, hasn't he?
Yeah, obviously I don't know him, but I've always thought he seemed like kind of an asshole, but
yeah, because I'm pretty sure this is not the first time I've seen his name on a rap sheet. Okay, I'm pretty sure he's done some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's see. 2011. He had some. Oh, that's not bad. He had some weed in his possession.
He's from Wyckoff. I did not know that.
Let's see. Weed in the car.
Which actually, now that I'm realizing it, Ezra Miller uses they them pronouns, not he him.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. In 2020,
My bad.
a video surfaced in a since deleted tweet that appeared to show Miller choking a woman and throwing her to the ground. It was confirmed by Variety to have taken place in Reykjavik. What the fuck? Why are you choking someone in Reykjavik? Like, aren't they all happy there? A bar employee identified the person in the video as Miller and said they were escorted off the premises by staff after the incident. Okay, interesting. Oh yeah, then he threatened the KKK. I remember
Which
that.
that's pretty cool.
Which yeah, what?
I'll give him that.
Yeah, but why the fuck? Like, what? The way they word it here, it's like he seemed to have threatened members of the right, like as if that would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then of course we have fast forward to yesterday. Miller was arrested in Hawaii following a physical confrontation with patrons at a karaoke bar. And the funniest part,
they hate karaoke.
The funniest part is when I like read that little excerpt from the article is because he started this because of the karaoke. I was like, does he really not like karaoke that much?
I don't know.
Then fucking walk out, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the Flash. The Flash entered the cell at the speed of light.
Oh boy.
Amazing. Some other highlights include Hans Zimmer accepting his award in a robe.
That the picture of him is so fucking funny.
Is amazing.
He's the best.
Yeah. I really despite what people think of the guys who have been in the industry for years and years and years and like, oh, we're sick of seeing some of these names. I think Hans Zimmer has very much cemented his legacy and he deserves all of that.
You know what it is? It's the thing with him, why it never feels like it gets old to like see him win over and over again is like, look at the Dune soundtrack compared to like the Dark Knight soundtrack. It sounds like two different composers. Like he brings such like originality and like uniqueness to every single score I've ever heard from him that it's like amazing. Like not that I don't like him or don't like his sound, but like look at John Williams. Like when you hear John Williams, you know it's a John Williams score. Like you can very clearly say, okay, I know this sounds like a John Williams score. Hans Zimmer, I don't feel that way with. I feel like every single movie sounds completely different. Dune in particular is like
I feel that way too because you know you have people like Danny Elfman and you had Ennio Morricone and like they had a
like you're like okay
style.
like I know their style, whereas Hans Zimmer's kind of just like out there.
Yeah, he could just do like whatever he needs,
which is really cool.
Yeah, so yeah, that fucking picture is so good.
It's so great.
Him in the robe.
Love him.
Hans, we love you, baby. We love you. Straight up.
All right. Is it time to finally talk about the incident?
You're right. Best picture going to Coda.
Oh man.
Nope. Okay. We have saved the best for last. We will finally talk about the 600-pound elephant in the room.
The slapperoonie.
The slap heard around the world.
I don't know what more we can even add to the conversation, but it was craziest Oscar moment ever.
Yeah,
I think literally ever.
I think like there's certainly been moments in the Oscar history that have been controversial. Like when Marlon Brando sent that Native American woman to accept the Godfather award, and people were like booing her and whatever, and other shit here and there, but never to this caliber. Like this was straight up. Like
I've seen lots of people saying that they don't see anything to suggest it was staged either. So
no,
because obviously that was my first thought when I was watching it. I was like, that was like a bit, right? And then they cut the sound and everything. I was like, wait,
yeah,
I don't think that was
it's the thing with this is, and there are still people convinced it's staged. The thing is, as much as the quality of these award shows have deteriorated, the Oscars like to believe they still have class.
Yeah.
And if they were to stage an event like this, it pretty much would tarnish their name completely.
Yeah.
And they've already done a pretty good job at that, but they would never do something deliberately to bury themselves into the annals of history
Right.
as completely
Right.
crass entertainment. Like they
Yeah, I
wouldn't
would
do
say
that.
most of the things that the Academy tends to do that to the average person kind of like tarnish their name a little bit are more on like the snootier side instead of, yeah, like this is like the polar opposite end of the spectrum. Like the Oscars are known for nominating movies no one's ever heard of, and like all the shit that like they think makes them like prestigious. So yeah, like if they had staged this, it would be the most out of character thing that they could do for the Oscars. Like so I just don't think it's staged. The other thing too
No.
is like why would anybody agree to that? Like everybody came out of that looking bad. Will Smith looks bad and Chris Rock looks bad. So why would either of them agree to do that? Especially when Will Smith's winning in like an important award that night.
Yeah, and I'm sure Smith probably was conditioned to believe he was going to win even if he wasn't
Yeah,
directly told. So I couldn't possibly fathom why he would screw with his legacy and his family's reputation
yeah.
based on a bit. I
Well,
don't
that
see
yeah,
that
because that's the
happening.
thing. Like it kind of does like at least put a little mark on his legacy in some way. Like this is the first best actor Oscar ever, and it's the night that you throw an absolute tantrum at the Oscars
Well,
for something
yeah,
completely unrelated.
and I feel worse for his family because this very clearly is going to reflect poorly on any decision making in the industry in regards to the Smiths. Like
Yeah.
they're going to lose roles because of this. They're going to lose press because of it. It's very and I know like to him it probably doesn't matter, even though he likes to have a good reputation, but he's definitely like he's got problems. And
Yeah,
but the thing
they
is
all
like he's like in the he's kind of still in like the cocoon of crazy.
yeah.
He's been slowly breaking from this shell for years, but he's not quite there. But tonight, and especially the juxtaposition of him doing that versus the acceptance speech,
Yeah.
you can very clearly tell he's going through shit.
Oh yeah.
And it only takes a few more incidents like this for him to reach Kanye.
Yeah,
And
literally that was my first thought
yeah,
was Kanye.
that's a scary thing because I think most of us grew up loving Will Smith. Like
And Chris Rock.
I do. Oh yeah, of course. But with Will, whenever I watch Fresh Prince, it's like he comes from a bad area in Philly and he tries to make his life better. But whenever I watch the show, I never felt like there was real danger. Like I felt like secure. So I think that like the fact that he's out here smacking people now, like it's I think people are going to get the wrong impression. And before we move forward, we're not going to get into the who was right and who was wrong.
Yeah, it's no
Because I think that's stupid. Like Chris Rock is a fucking comedian. Will Smith shouldn't have fucking slapped him. Like it's but
Yeah.
we could people are gonna sit there on their thrones and get behind their keyboards and speak their mind regardless. But
Yeah.
we're not gonna do that. But I think that what I witnessed was a very real human response. And I think that it's really easy to be like, go fuck yourself. But like, it was a thing he shouldn't have done, but he did it. And I also loved Chris Rock's response of it was a G.I. Jane joke.
Yeah.
Like because really, like, look, I know like he made fun of her having alopecia, like whatever, which apparently I don't think he even knew.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I think it's weird to assume that everybody knew that. Like,
well, yeah,
I don't fucking know that.
well, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know that, and not for nothing. Like GI Jane. When was the last time anyone even thought of GI Jane? Like,
Yeah.
the movie's been
GI
fucking
Jane
dead.
sales are skyrocketing. This is all set up by big GI Jane.
And the other thing to make note of is he does quip something about how he went with a safer joke. You could tell that wasn't a Chris Rock joke. You could tell that he wanted to say something worse, but the Academy was probably like, "Don't do that." Like, do like a harmless GI Jane joke, which of course was not harmless.
Yeah, I guess not.
But I remember
it was just a weird moment for the Oscars. It was more of a what's the fucking MTV one? The VMAs. It was more of a VMAs moment than an Oscars moment. That's why, I don't think it was staged.
No, it definitely wasn't. And I remember watching this with a couple friends, and when the incident occurred and they cut the audio, we thought the stream fucked up.
Yeah, same. I was watching it on ABC's stream.
We couldn't really process what had just happened, and then the audio kicks back in, and then 10 seconds later, all over Twitter, they had raw footage from Japan and Australia and other countries, and I was like, "Whoa!" Yeah. Like he was fucking like
he threw a fucking fit.
Yeah, he
threw a fit. That's really what it is.
He really did, and again, like we're not gonna get into the politics of it. I certainly don't condone walking up to someone and fucking hitting them in front of 40 million viewers. But like, he's a human. He fucked up. He did some shit he shouldn't have done. There were some rampant emotions. Like him and his family have been in the bad part of the spotlight in the past few years.
I was gonna say, you know, like, a lot of it is like when you're mega rich and mega famous for so long. Think of how many people it has ended with everybody still having a great opinion of them. It's very few people who, when you're famous long enough, eventually you just like crack. That's really all it is. I would say one of the only people I can think of is Tom Hanks is the only one I can't think of an incident, but so many people, like it's just bound to happen.
Yeah. And I think like, even though we're all human, it's kind of difficult to even have the conversation because he's a narcissist in a room filled with narcissists. At the end,
a room full of the ultimate narcissists.
Right. At the end of the day, you can't really sit here and dissect anyone's moral compass in the situation. Like it's been this way for the beginning of mankind. Like it's not. There's always been social hierarchy. There's always been controversy. There's always been war. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it's gonna happen.
It's so funny, seeing people like arguing over the who's right of it all, and it's like it really doesn't matter. Like it's just we're just talking about how fucking crazy of an incident it was. Like you don't need to argue on like the morality of it. People are taking it way too seriously already.
Yeah. And again, we know the status of everything. There's no need to dig deeper than the boil over. that's it.
I did hear that Chris Rock's tour tickets had a huge surge in sales.
Yeah,
because like, let's be honest, like Chris Rock, whatever you've been working on for months for this tour, writing, throw it out. Because this is the only thing you can talk about now.
Yeah, you know damn well that people are only buying tickets to go see him talk about the incident.
Unfortunately for him, all of the material he already has prepared is insignificant now.
Yeah, and in a fucked up way, it almost gave him a second career. Because I'm gonna be honest, I am a Chris Rock fan. I do love Chris Rock. But he was dead to the world. Like, no one, like he was still active, but he wasn't like he didn't have as much of an impact as he did in the 90s and 2000s. Like, so I think
there were a lot of people that would have liked to smack him in the face after watching Spiral. So maybe Will Smith did it justice.
I still, as much as I love the Saw series, I still haven't seen
Don't. It
Spiral.
sucks. Don't watch it.
I mean, I assumed it sucked, but
It's not good. But
yeah,
yeah,
it's.
Oscars.
I
Shit was
think
crazy.
I think that it definitely gave him a second career while
I'm
almost
so
ending
interested.
Will's.
Yeah, I'm so interested because he hasn't said anything yet. Like, what do you say? Like, what are his publicists telling him to do right now? That's what I want to know.
I think with Chris Rock, it's probably tricky because he was very professional during the incident. He did keep his cool.
Oh,
I think he handled it the best way
look,
possible.
Yeah, he handled it in the only way that could ever possibly have people questioning who was right. You know, if he then blew up on him or something, it only would have made everybody look worse. And I mean, I don't, yeah, he kept it super professional. Like he ain't losing any work over that. Will Smith might, but he's not going to.
Yeah, like if this was Chris Rock in the days of New Jack City, he might have fucking barreled him, but he knows he has a legacy. He like Chris Rock is probably one of the few newer, older legacy comedians like him and Eddie Murphy, like the guys who rose to prominence at the tail end of the 20th century that still have a significant name attached to them. And I think that he knew that, and he was like, well, wait, I'm not gonna fucking stoop to his level. And I'm sure that whatever response he gives it's gonna be very reflective of his personality.
I'm just so curious, what do you, because it's, you know what it is, what it comes down to is like, do you go the funny route and stay silent for a little while and then say something really fucking funny about it, or do you go the serious route? Like, I don't know what he's gonna do, and I'm very interested to see.
I think normally I would say he'd probably just go all in on the funny because it's Chris
That's
Rock.
what I would do. Yeah,
it's Chris Rock, and he tends to be raw. But I think that given the significance of the Oscars and how explosive this event has become, I think he might probably like intertwine the funny into the serious.
Right.
Like he might
we said, he is also older. Like, he's not,
he's
it's not like Pete Davidson responding to Kanye West. Like he is an older professional guy. But
right.
I can't wait to see what that, or the smartest thing he could do is not say a fucking word until the first night of his tour. That would be smart, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that. Like, just completely lay low until, because I think the tour starts in only like a couple months. Just like stay out of the public eye until then, and then come back with that. That might be what he does.
I also wonder if, because on his end of things, this did help his career in a way. But
I saw a tweet that said that his ticket sales in the past 2 days have sold more than they did in the past 2 months.
Yeah, I saw that too. But I almost wonder, I guess it goes back to how he's gonna handle it with the press. I almost wonder if he's gonna eat it up during his tour, or if he's gonna kind of be a little hesitant to speak on it. Like, I feel like it could go either way, because remember all the shit that happened with Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly a bunch of years ago. Eminem never acknowledged him again after that, and I think people kept buying tickets to see his reaction. So I wonder, but then again, it's Chris Rock. I feel like he would talk about it.
I mean, he's a comedian. What the amount of material that you get out of that, I would imagine. It's very interesting to see what he'll do. I'm very curious.
Needless to say, I'm gonna have to pawn off some shit to buy a ticket.
He's playing Atlantic City. I saw it the other day when I was driving down there.
Oh, is he going to AC?
Uh-huh. It was
Oh,
it was
wow.
before the Oscars, but I remember seeing the billboard and being like, "Oh, Chris Rock's going to be in AC."
I guess I missed out on that opportunity. Oh my god.
Yeah, so crazy. I love being like witness to pop culture events as they happen live. So I was so glad I was watching.
Oh yeah, it definitely is one of those things where regardless of good or bad, being able to say you witnessed that and having it be
Yeah.
like a historical event.
It really is. That's the funny thing. Like, it is now a moment in like film history. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be literally the Marlon Brando thing, the Moonlight La La Land thing, and then Will Smith, Chris Rock. Those are like the big Oscar moments that I can think of.
Same. Yeah,
Which is nuts.
It's very quickly cemented its place in history.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. And
again, like it Will Smith he really like fucked himself over, because that's all anyone's going to remember about his Oscar win. Like, nobody is going to remember anything else. They're going to remember that more than they remember the movie. I think, at least more than I will remember the movie.
oh yeah. And I also heard, and I don't know what you think of this, but apparently, and I take this with a grain of salt because this is probably just for the Academy Awards to save face on their end, but apparently they're going to look into it and see if they need to take action, as in rescinding his Oscar.
I don't think they're going to take his Oscar away.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to do anything or not. They could. I mean, they in theory would have every right to, but I feel like it would look bad for them. It would almost look bad for them if they did. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that they issued a statement like, we don't condone violence, but I do wonder what they're gonna do. Like, if they're just gonna say, fuck it, or if the public outlash. And that's the thing though, is like, if this happened 5 or 10 years ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, no, they're not gonna do shit. But think of how loud the public voice is. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, that's the reason that they changed, reverted the animation style back to the original Sonic animation, is because Twitter blew the fuck up.
Right.
And the studio saw that. So I wonder if they're going to feel pressure to take action because of public outcry.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know,
we'll see.
because I've seen, like, there's not really a strong consensus on what everyone thinks. Like, people are pretty divided on how they feel about it just in general, which is surprising. Usually it's like, like a internet mob of like everybody thinks one thing, but it's been interesting to see how different like people have been feeling about it. Even just in the like who's right, who's wrong thing, like, has been very, very divided.
Yeah, that is true. There's really no like clear cut or unanimous decision on it. And I think that to even debate it is a moot point, because look at who you're dealing with. You're dealing with a subspecies of human that all they've ever been hyperfixated on is money, fame, and attention. Like,
True.
it's not like
the subspecies of the rich.
Right. Like Hollywood has made it abundantly clear in the past over 100 years that they don't care about anything but money.
Very true.
Think about all the horror stories that go on behind the scenes at studios, and then now kind of have that manifest into a global battle of egoism and power control, and you have an unstoppable fucking race of power moguls and people who just can't get their head out of their own ass.
Yeah. And it is funny, like we were saying, like, we're in such an age where the Oscars are trying so hard to like maintain some level of like prestige, and this like set it so far back. Like,
oh my god,
like, what are they
light years back?
What the fuck are they gonna do next year? Like, what do you do?
I almost feel like they might have to really restructure the show. I don't know like what action they can take.
I know it's like it's just very
What do you
weird.
what do you do? Like do you set better? And you know, I guess at first I was a little confused too, because I was gonna suggest, like, do you set forth stronger security protocol? And
Well,
then
the truth is, like before this, the Oscars always felt like a like clubhouse almost. Like you just kind of assume that everybody there is friends and like everybody gets along with each other. So like, yeah, there's no like security or anything because it's just like a bunch of people who all know each other. Many have worked together, like they all are kind of friendly. This was the first time that's ever not been the case, you know, like when else has it been like, oh, well, that guy hates that guy at the Oscars? Like never. You kind of just assume that they're all friends and they're going to do the award show and then they're all going to go to the after party and just get fucked up together. Like I've never really felt like two people there have been like at each other's throats before.
yeah, so it makes me wonder moving forward if they are going to have security measures.
Yeah, I don't know. Or if it
Maybe.
was just too like anomalous of an event for them to like do anything to prepare for it, you know?
I think they should probably just cut ties with the fucking ceremony. Like it's gonna get to a point where they probably just stop it.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, I mean, the bigger conversation just about the Oscars in general is like, how long is it going to go on for? Because the viewership's been declining, public interest has been declining, and like they won't really address any of the problems that the majority of people have with the Oscars. So it's like they almost do the opposite half the time. Like at the end of the day, people are not watching the Oscars because nobody has heard of any of these movies. Like I get it, but no, people don't watch because they haven't seen these movies before. So that's the big issue. Like if viewership is your problem, then you need to recognize more movies that people have heard of. You know what I mean? And I think this year Dune was a good like way to get people back because everybody saw that movie. That was like one of the most popular movies of this year and it was nominated a bunch. So I think that was good. But there's so many years where like, because I always think of like my parents who are not, they're not film people. They like movies as much as anyone else, but they're not like film people. And there's years where they haven't even heard of a single one of the movies. And they're middle-aged suburban people, which is the core viewership of any television event. So it's like it's going to get to a point where the movies are so obscure that just no one's going to watch. And it's like, what do you do then? Because that's what they're clearly leaning into is the more obscure movies. That's what keeps winning.
they need to take a step back and make it not so much of a spectacle.
Yeah.
They need to bring it back to their roots. They need to reignite the passion for film. Like it's at its core, it's an award ceremony for movies, but it hasn't felt that way for quite some time.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes when I guess in a weird way, I could almost equate it to when I used to go to baseball games as a kid versus in the past 20 years. As a kid, I felt like I was focused on the event. I go to Yankee Stadium now, and there's way too many fucking bells and whistles and things going on, and I forget that there's a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you could almost say the same thing about these award ceremonies. I get we're keeping up with the times. We got to try different things, but make sure you do that in tandem with the core reason why it exists in the first place. You need to be talking about exciting movies. You need to focus on the film. Yeah. Don't focus on the inner politics. Don't focus on the pandering. Get back to the love of movies. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think one of the other things that I've seen people talk about on Twitter, which I think is a really interesting point too, is like the other side of the argument of what I'm saying, of what we're saying is look at the quality of blockbuster movies nowadays versus the 90s or something. where like the Oscar movies were blockbuster movies. Look at like Forrest Gump, like that was a blockbuster movie that was an Oscar movie. Nowadays, one could argue that when every blockbuster movie is a superhero movie, you kind of have to dig for the more obscure stuff to get movies that are like of any sort of quality that would qualify them for an Oscar. So it's kind of both things happening at once, which all the Oscars are is Hollywood patting itself on the back. So it's like, I get it that everybody wants to make a lot of fucking money and that superheroes are the way to do it. But at the same time, if you're going to then also have an award ceremony for yourself where you're celebrating film and everything, then you also need to greenlight movies that are not superhero movies and make blockbuster movies that have big budgets and get a lot of release, like a wide release, that are Oscar movies. So it's interesting, the two sides of it. I don't really know what the solution is, because people don't watch the Oscars because they nominate movies no one's ever heard of. But at the same time, the studios aren't releasing good movies because they just care about what's going to make them money. Like, look at like Morbius is coming out this week. That movie is getting absolutely trashed by the critics. And it's like, maybe if they had not dumped money into this stupid, obscure superhero character just because he's a superhero character, they could have made something better or given the money to a like auteur director who's going to make something with it. You know what I mean? So
Yup.
it's just like, it's like the snake eating its own tail. Then it's like, I don't know what the solution to that is.
I think it's a problem that many other industries face. It's very systemic. I think that you literally have to rip up the floorboards and rework the infrastructure of the industry.
Yeah.
And I think that we could possibly see that in the next 5 to 10 years, because even though the reboot and the remake train is still chugging along, there's not going to be much more steam left in it.
People are getting sick of it already.
It's gonna get to a point, and listen, that's gonna exist forever, right?
Yeah,
people
it always has.
Right, people act like this is a new thing. Like, bro, Disney's Beauty and the Beast was based off John Cocteau's French adaptation, which was based off of a story told thousands of years ago. Like, Hollywood has been doing this since its inception. It's not a new concept, but at the same time, we need to stop being so safe and take more liberty, and kind of increase awareness for originality. And I think that it became self-defeating with Hollywood because they drilled it into so many people's heads for years that this is what you like, this is what you crave, we're gonna make it, you're gonna come see it. And now it sucks when some originality falls through the cracks and people don't notice it because it doesn't have a big name. A lot of people these days are only drawn to the theaters for a big name. Like, look at Spider-Man and look at Batman, look at everything else, Ghostbusters, whatever you're talking about. The allure of it is hitting that bone of nostalgia. And it's like, there is sometimes an original piece that gets recognized, but then there's some that don't. And I think that's been the conditioning on our society. So I think we need to take several steps back.
Yeah.
And we need to really rethink what fucking makes a movie. Like,
I do think we've hit a little bit of a happy middle ground lately with like Joker, Batman, like superhero movies. They're starting to make some that are a little bit more what you look for in like an Oscars movie. So it's nice that those movies did well and are hopefully going to like continue that trend where it's like and the funny thing is the trend is just give a superhero movie to an actual like filmmaker instead of some random studio direct, you know what I mean? Like even Suicide Squad, like with James Gunn, like everybody loved that movie because it was a James Gunn movie. And like, I don't think that it's impossible to make a superhero movie that is made by a director who cares about movies, you know, like They do it in comic books all the time. Like you can tell if you're a fan of a certain writer of a comic book. Like when I was really into comic books, I loved Grant Morrison, and like I could read a Batman story and say this is a Grant Morrison Batman story, and I like it for that. The same can be done with movies, and lately is the first time that they're starting to dip their toes into that. Like I said, with like Joker, with Batman, even to an extent with Zack Snyder, Justice League and stuff like that, where it's like they're letting filmmakers have a little bit of creative control over a superhero movie. I think Marvel needs to get on the fucking train with that, because they're the ones with the biggest problem with that, where their movies are like made in a factory and everything feels exactly the same. DC has been a little bit better with that, but to obviously less success. I mean, like I said, Zack Snyder's Justice League, I haven't watched his cut of it yet, but I know that the original one they put out was garbage. So it's like it took a little bit of pushback to even let the director kind of have his way with his own movie. But I don't know. I think it's possible to find the middle ground. It's just when the absolute only motivator is money, it's hard to convince anyone to, let a director create something that has any artistic value. When it's like, yeah, well, but we could just pump out 5 more Avengers spin-off movies and not have to put too much thought into it, and they'll be completely non-controversial, and they'll just fill in more space in the Marvel universe. And it's hard to say no to that when each one of those movies makes $1 billion.
Then let the studio do that one movie, get their money, and then take the risk on something unique. I think that would be a happy medium. I think, and I'm sure that's been the case sometimes, but I do really want the love to come back to it. A lot of it just seems so manufactured.
Yeah. The other thing too is I've been saying it for years, is the Academy needs to start fucking recognizing that horror movies exist, because if you want original movies from people who really give a shit about movies, horror movies are the way to go, because people who make horror movies and who love horror movies fucking love movies. So they need to start actually recognizing that genre exists, because there's a lot of originality there and a lot of passion for movies that is not really being seen in a lot of mainstream blockbusters. And for some reason, the Academy just like refuses to believe that horror movies exist.
Yeah. Like as soon as you said that, I thought to myself, well, look at a title like Suspiria, right? It's a horror film, but a lot of it kind of stems from the beauty and the tragedy of humanity. And I think that at its core, isn't that what all Oscar bait movies are?
Right.
Like they share the same fundamental themes and core values. Like just admit that they are also film.
Yeah, it's like time to understand that if you want a ceremony where the people actually give a shit about movies, like genre movies are what people care about. There's not a big community around dramas, you know what I mean? So I think you get a lot more passion out of genre movies. That's why Dune was so great. Dune is a straight up sci-fi fantasy, like to its core. And that's why everybody watched it and was like praising the originality and the vision of it. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think they need to recognize more, and they need to make more of. Otherwise, people are going to stop watching their ceremony that is congratulating these movies that nobody wants to watch.
Pretty much. I mean, when we tune in and for the 300th time a Disney movie has won Best Animated Feature, which
I've seen a lot of people talking about
which
that.
Again, Encanto, music was great, it looked beautiful, but Jesus Christ, there is a wealth of animation out there. We need to recognize that there is a world that exists also outside of Disney and Marvel. And
it's half of the movies are Disney movies for the animated feature. Like literally 50% of the movies are Disney movies. And that's crazy. Like I don't know. Yeah, they're good, but like there's more out there, and there's especially more interesting things. Like, yeah, Encanto's great, and Luca was great. I didn't see Raya and the Last Dragon, but I'm sure that was good too. But like, all those movies just look like Disney animated movies. Like, there's people doing interesting things with animation that should be recognized. Flea was one in particular that was an interesting usage of animation
Yeah.
that I think maybe putting the spotlight on more stuff like that is important. And especially because like they did that whole speech about how fucking like animated movies are for kids. And it was like,
yeah, and that
so
like
so disrespectful.
that like adults have to endure it. It's
yeah,
like
come
come
no,
on.
it's just you keep nominating Disney movies.
Yeah, like
There's plenty of good animated movies that adults enjoy too.
yeah.
And Disney movies. I like Disney movies. So it's like that was a weird comment for them to allow in that broadcast.
Yeah. It was very weird. Very weird. But yeah, so I guess some other awards were won, whatever.
Yeah.
Coda, sure. I'm just glad Don't Look Up didn't
It didn't win anything.
which I knew it wasn't going to, but like,
yeah,
could you imagine?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Then I would have been like, I'm no longer ever watching this.
See, isn't that what's funny? Like, to the point we're making, like, Don't Look Up is one of the best picture nominees that probably most people have seen. Like, of the popularity of the best picture nominees, that's honestly probably second to Dune.
Yeah.
Which is like,
sure.
You don't think that maybe there was a better movie that could have been nominated that people actually saw?
Yeah, it is interesting. I did part of me thought either Power of the Dog or Belfast was gonna win that one. But
if before the ceremony, if I had to put money on one of the nominees, I probably would have picked Power of the Dog, just because it seemed to really be like an Oscar movie. And then for it to win so little awards was very surprising to me. But I would have picked Power of the Dog or Coda. Those felt the most like Oscar to me.
mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I as much as I love Nightmare Alley on this list, it never had a shot in hell.
I'm glad it was nominated just because it was a great movie, but it did not stand a chance.
No.
I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if Dune had won. I would have loved it, but they still are very hesitant to give it to a genre movie. And even though it's made by a director who is definitely an Oscars director nowadays, it is still a science fiction movie to its core, a science fiction movie.
And it won 5 others?
6.
Oh, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it won 6 awards.
Yeah, so it definitely got recognized. But which I think is cool to see that a great sci-fi adaptation winning that much. I mean, again, it's like you said, right? Like, it's usually a drama that's taking all the awards.
Yeah.
So.
And it's which movie did most people see this year of these best picture nominees? Dune, which is not a dry, safe drama movie.
Yeah. Oh God. I really just when I watched that post-credit scene in Don't Look Up, I questioned my entire life. I really did. And then to see it up here, Jesus Christ.
It's funny too, like just talking about the relevancy of the movies, like how many of these movies everyone's going to completely forget about, but like people are going to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home forever. Do I think that should have been nominated for Best Picture? Probably not. But if you want to talk about movies and their cultural impact, like Spider-Man No Way Home is more impactful than any of these movies.
And it showed too, at least in my opinion, that movie showed that you can have this mega big blockbuster that tugs on the heartstrings of people in their childhood while also doing something a little bit different. It
was an innovative movie. Like they've never done something like that in the history of movies before. Bring these characters together from different movies made by different companies at different times. Like I can't think of, they've never done that before. So that it was definitely a feat of film that it's never going to be recognized by the Academy, but culturally people will always like think of that. It's the same thing I said about Avengers when we talked about Avengers. Like no other movie in history has had 11 years of movies leading up to it like Avengers Endgame did. So it's like if that's not never going to be nominated for an Oscar and No Way Home's never going to be nominated, like I don't think we'll ever see a Marvel movie nominated. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, who knows?
But again, those are the popular movies. If you want people to watch your damn show, then you got to, those are movies you got to talk about.
Very true. Oh man, I all right, be honest. How many times have you rewatched that clip of the smack?
Oh, so many times.
Yeah,
Edits
I
of
lost
it.
count.
Yeah. Oh shit. Fucking
wanna-
Oscars, man.
Yeah,
The day after the Oscars, I feel like hungover from everything, from all the pop culture moments this year more than ever.
I know.
This
know
year, I felt like I
exactly.
drank absinthe.
I know exactly what you mean. I felt the same way. I woke up and I was like, am I supposed to go back to life? Like that was crazy.
It's like going to like an insane like wedding or something, where it's like afterwards you're like, this is the only thing I can talk
Yep.
about.
pretty much. Yeah, so that was all the fun. There's drama,
We laughed,
romance,
we cried,
bloodshed.
violence.
It had everything. And I am simultaneously not looking forward to and looking forward to the next Oscars.
I'm looking forward to, because I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do next year. Do they lean into it and go full WWE, or do they try to make us forget it happened? Do they just say fuck it, all the nominees are fighting on stage in a cage, or do they just eliminate everything in between and it's just presenting the awards?
All I know is that if there is a ladder match, please don't invite Amy Schumer back.
Oh man.
Well, that I don't know what else we could really add to the conversation. I think
we've said all that needs to be said.
I think that was it. So make sure after this you decompress with some some more smacking. Make sure to browse Twitter for all the really
memes.
amazing memes that have rolled out. And yeah, so that's pretty much gonna wrap it here, unless you had any closing thoughts.
My brain's empty.
Yeah, well, once again, this has been Sam with the Silver Screen Fiends podcast,
and this has been Blake.
And movies are once again good.
Movies might be good now.
Movies
After
might
that,
be good.
I'm questioning everything. Movies might be good, guys. This changes everything.
Oh fuck! All right, well, I'm gonna go think about this for the next week.
Yeah.
Ta-ta.